1980X is a coming-of-age story which plays out across a compilation of 5 separate arcade game experiences inspired by arcades of the 1980s. So if retro games are your thing, stick around, as this game could just be the retro fix that you've been looking for. Hi there guys, thank you so much for joining me, the Indie Gamer here, and this is my review of 1980X. 1980X's story is told over a series of 5 separate arcade-inspired games from 5 distinct genres, all of which are beautifully brought together by an excellent and surprisingly powerful overarching narrative. This story is told primarily through some beautifully done pixel art cutscenes, and on top of this, the arcade games themselves also act as a vehicle to move the story forward too in a very effective way. As for the 5 actual arcade games themselves, the game kicks off with Beating Heart, a side-scrolling beat-em-up which takes its cues from the likes of Double Dragon and Final Fight. Acting as the game's introduction, Beating Heart was probably the game's shortest chapter and could probably have benefited from being a touch longer, but nonetheless it looked, played and sounded superb and was the perfect way to kick things off. Moving on from there, the next game up was Out of the Void. Out of the Void is a side-scrolling shooter that brought back some very fond memories of games like R-Type from back in the day. And despite the fact I've played many games inspired by the likes of R-Type since, Out of the Void managed to deliver that nostalgic feel very convincingly. This game in particular felt very polished and like it could easily have been extended out into a full-blown game of its own. Next up was the Runaway, which gives off strong Outrun vibes but could be compared to many of the racing games of the time. The Runaway stays true to the Outrun style formula, challenging you to beat the clock to the checkpoints. Everything was absolutely spot on here, and the Runaway played a really nice part in moving on the game's overall story too. Next up, and the 4th of the 5 games, is Shadowplay. Shadowplay is an auto-runner where you have to rely on quick reactions to evade or slice and dice your oncoming foes. This was certainly one of the longer and more fleshed out games of the collection, and again was very nicely presented and a lot of fun to play through too. The final game, known as Killscreen, is a turn-based dungeon crawler RPG with a wireframe visual style. Your objective in this one is to track down and slay the 3 dragons using a choice of 3 attack options, with each enemy being particularly vulnerable to one of the 3 attacks. This final chapter is surprisingly enjoyable and again does a great job of blending the lines between the game within a game and the 1980X narrative. .1980X is driven by much more than just 5 fun minigames. The way the game tells its story that many gamers will likely relate to makes it a unique and at times heartfelt experience. Story scores an 8 out of 10. Visually, 1980X makes a strong impact. All 5 games are beautifully executed, each with their own distinct visual charm. The colours boldly shine through and the pixel art throughout the game is truly beautiful. The game also pays close attention to the meticulous details, evoking that nostalgic 80s feeling through its visual storytelling in its beautifully done cutscenes. Visuals score an 8.5 out of 10. 1980X's audio really delivers, especially when it comes to its incredible 80s synthwave soundtrack that I would very happily listen to all on its own. Throw in a nicely done voiceover and faithfully recreated retro sound effects, and everything comes together very nicely indeed to deliver an excellent all-round audio experience. Audio scores a tasty 9 out of 10. Moving on from there, and next up is gameplay. The way I would describe gameplay in 1980X is solid throughout. All 5 games are great fun to play through, and no game really stood out to me as a weak link. Controls are kept straightforward with 1 or 2 button setups with a focus on being able to just pick up and play in the spirit of the arcades. All in all, gameplay scores a 7 out of 10. 1980X comes in at just $8.99 in the UK and $9.99 in the rest of Europe and the US, and something just to consider is that the game isn't a long game by any means and comes in at around the hour-and-a-half mark in duration. This I personally have no problem with for this price and the quality of the short but sweet and very worthwhile ride. Value scores a 7.5 out of 10. $1980X offers a fun nostalgia kick of playing through its 5 classic arcade-inspired games, but for me it's this fused with the relatable overarching narrative of fitting in through the love of gaming that really elevated 1980X to become something quite unique and an experience very worthy of your attention. Based on its scores from story, visuals, audio, gameplay and value, 1980X gets an overall score of 8 out of 10. Thank you so much for watching, guys. I really do hope you enjoyed the video. If you do have any questions or thoughts on today's review, I would love to hear from you down in the comments section below. If you did enjoy this, it would be massively appreciated if you would hit that like button. And please do feel free to share this out on social media and subscribe if you would like to see more future videos. Thanks again for watching, guys, and I will see you in the next one.